All right, what's today's date?
6th.
April 6th?
Yep.
All right, so today is our one-day leave out. I have some isometrics drawn up here. It's completely random. There's no plan to this isometrics, and it's bad enough where it probably causes problems. And honestly, we can actually talk about that, especially for you guys, right? Because this is something that you're going to learn. So let me run into that real quick. So isometrics is a way to give a 3D version of a plumbing system. To look at, so you have isometrics, and you also have like plane view. So plane view could be something as simple as excuse me, I'll go with the same thing. So plane view can be something as simple as the dotted lines are going to represent a wall, right? So let's say we went with this building. And if you see how it's at an angle, okay, plane view is normally not going to be at an angle. We do an angle because everything on that plane can then represent height because you're going to actually have a grid. Does anyone have any ISO paper on them? No, not highlight that. I'll show you guys before you leave. Just remind me, I'll show you what it looks like. But you're going to see it in class anyways. So then at this point, it looks like your water closet is here, right? And then right here would have been another tie-in because on this, the sink would have dropped in, right? So you would have a vertical right here. And then outside of that, we probably would have had, I did another wall. I'm going to say this is some kind of weird warehouse. Right here is a water fountain that I tied in. Right here, maybe I tied in a hand sink, right? And then maybe here we put a clean out or an EFD at this location. Right here, outside would have been another clean out, and then, city tap. Okay, so these are two variations of what you're going to see and what you're going to deal with in class. So it's kind of important that you go over this, right? So the first to be a good plumber, a good service plumber, is you have to understand the science behind plumbing, right? Why is this happening? Is it just because someone put a 50 pack of tampons down the drain line, or something fun like, hey, you guys aren't in the chat, but they fished out a pair of like god awful dirty panties out of the toilet, right? All types of weird. You're gonna see, Zacto knives, sunglasses, vapes, butt plugs. You're gonna find all types of crazy stuff in toilets. I'm not being funny. It's just the reality. Like, I don't know if you live in America or not, but you watch TikTok and you assume the intelligence people are dealing with, right? So this is a plain view, so it's just literally overhead. Okay, here's a bathroom here. Here's I think I said a water fountain here. This is going to be a hand sink here. Here's a clean out. Here's another clean out, and there's a city tap. Right, very basic stuff. Actually, I didn't put my sink on this one. Okay. And this is without vents. So when you guys are in class, you're going to do a drain line in a color. You're going to do your vent stack in a color. So you're going to go up and actually show your vent stack. You're also going to do your water lines, even if it's overhead, in all different colors. So you're going to learn to basically build a plumbing blueprint, if you will, with isometrics. And if you go to a Lowe's, they'll have, you can request them. Now, whether they're relevant or whether, and understand, this is the fun part about being in construction in general. The plans are really just a suggestion of what they should have done and what the city are like, okay, it looks good, and then they do what they want. So they could be close, could be, in my experience, never vary, but it could be, right?
I've seen some as builds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen exactly what they as built. Exactly. So this just gives us a little bit more detail. Now, why is this important? It's important because if you put a quote in and you put a quote in, say we're different companies, right? He's the same exact thing he's going to do as him, and they're the same dollar amount, but he has isometrics. They're going to give the job to him. You know why? Because they understand that he gets the fundamental. He can see through the floor, he can see through the walls. He knows where this is. So if it's a drain line that we're mapping,
not trying to give him nothing. I'm saying he knows it. I'm saying he should know it.
That's great. Then that's a hint. And stop. They don't even get a keychain if they answer this correctly. Put your head down. Okay? So what tool do we have on our van that you guys could use to map a drain line? Locator. Okay. Which is a combination with? Camera. Bingo. Okay, cool. So there's two things. That's why if you guys were here, I was asking my guys, does your camera and locator work? So his doesn't, but he has a loaner, which means he's already done what he needed to, and his is up in Georgia, and if it's ready, when I get there, I'll bring it back, right? So it's very important that we have that, because we're dealing with a situation at a job, X, Y, Z, bunch of from the top, right? Things went south, and it's really because the guy didn't have his equipment, right? It was like a 40-minute ask to him. So, I mean, that's kind of weird for whatever reason. So, let's say, right, that we have two areas that this continually clogs, right? Can you guys, even if you want to get closer, okay? Come on, you guys get closer, right? As in close, get up here. So on this, if we have two areas, now I gave you the plain view. This right here is represented as a toilet. This right here is represented as a sink. This right here is represented as a water fountain. This right here is represented as a sink, right? And this right here is represented as, we'll just go with the cleanout, okay, instead of an EFD. Let's assume they don't have it, because it's not mandatory. They're calculated at 0 EFDs anyways. And then this right here at this turn is represented as a cleanout. So they actually did pretty well. As far as cleaning this line, they have 3 opportunities to clean it. One, you consider a toilet flange to clean out by code. They have a clean out and a clean out. And we'll just say this drain line is, what, 70 foot? You know, to outside, something like that. Okay, so for you guys, where would you assume that there is a possibility, because the client called, they keep having backups, they keep having a plumber come out here, they clear it and leave, they don't make any real repairs. On this drain line that I completely just threw up, is completely random, right? Where would you think you would have issues at? Okay, and why?
Just because these from the middle of pipes and when it's those keys,
Yep.
it tends to get backed up.
Okay, so I didn't do a good direction right here, right? So if they built it with just a T, 100%, that's illegal, right? You're not supposed to use T's underground or on their side or their back. They gotta be vertical, right? And normally you're only gonna see that with like a clean out. Like let's say they have a clean out. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I am not I'm not infallible, right? So I know these guys have a lot of plumbing experience. So let's say we have an EFD, right? Which is an emergency floor drain, just for you guys. Yeah. So an EFD is an emergency floor drain, and it's just for overflow water. Okay. So all EFDs are traps. Okay. That just like if you want to look under this water fountain right here, you see that trap right there?
Yeah.
That bit. Mm-hmm. What that does is it gives a liquid barrier. And that way, if I take that off and tell you to smell that pipe, it's going to smell like straight poop, right? Because it's a drain line, especially if people are using it or people flush it. Ours is connected to a septic tank, so our city's on a pressure line. So the trap in there actually holds water to the trap leader, which you'll learn in class. See, you'll learn all this in class. That's why it's part of it, but it's actually a really good part. Okay, so EFDs aren't actually calculated. Remember when I said earlier that an EFD has 0 DFUs? Because it's for indirect waste. So the toilet's calculated, the water fountain's calculated, the sinks are calculated, because you are going to use them, they're going to receive water. EFD is there for emergency situation, right? Or if they're cleaning a bathroom, they dump stuff down, whatever. So that means that there's a possibility that water never goes down this, and then eventually the trap weir goes down, right? And then you start getting sewer gas. And you can beat that by sometimes they'll have a trap primer, which will connect into it. And a trap primer can work 2 ways. It can be on pressure, which means that if there's a pressure fluctuation, almost they use it like a air hammer. For you guys that actually know what I'm talking about, you guys can just glaze over for a second. Then what happens is that as there's a raise in static and working pressure, or there's turbulence on the line that is caused by quick flowing. Okay, so air can compress, right? So if a car is driving and a car hits a wall, it's going to crumble, right? So it's going to actually accept that kinetic force and smash it, especially nowadays cars, right? But if water hits that, water doesn't compress. already in its most compressed form, just like sand. So that means that it's gonna bounce back. So if you have a quick close valve, like a toilet, right? It's full flow and then it stops it. That means that there's a point where the water bounces back and it creates turbulence. Well, things like air hammer or hammer arresters, excuse me, I'm using the wrong term. Hammer arresters or trap primers, they sense that through rubber mechanics and diaphragms or whatever, and then it releases water. That water then can enter the trap and it will fill the trap. Or they have gray water ones that are literally off the P trap. You have a weird looking arm that then will tie back into the wall and it just siphons some of their gray water from people washing their hands into that, which is either one's good because now you have something to relieve turbulence on your line, or you have something that's just taking reclaimed water and filling up a trap, so it's great, right? And then it's a 50-50. If they have it, it's also an 80% chance that if they have it and they've been around for a while, it's clogged. But there's a very simple way to fix that, and that is pour a bucket of water down. And then wait another 6 months.
That's what happened to me. I was in a Cracker Barrel because they had this ported stench.
I hear a lot of bad things about Cracker Barrel.
And they had a drain line for their AC unit for their server closet tucked back in the corner, and nobody had ever used it.
Really?
So it was just completely dry. That was why they were getting the smell. So I poured like 3 large cups of water down it, but it was good.
You got fine. You got like 3 hours.
I had a Publix.
Ferguson.
I had a Publix that would just stink up the whole right side of the building. And nobody could figure out what it was. And I said, we did a smoke test, and it just started blowing out all the air conditioning out of the smoke test. And I said, well, there's something getting into the AC. And sure, and what they do is they have the AC drawer intake. They use the cooler, so that helps keep the coolers from heating. We started pulling off panels from the cooler. Sure enough, there's an open hub drain right there.
And that's why there's a lot of codes. Like when your vent stack exhausts itself above the roof, it has to be so many feet from a window, so many feet from an AC return. There's a lot of times where there's like, man, our store always smells like poop. And you do a smoke test and you can't find anything. You go on the roof that the AC is here, the vent stack's here. AC is going to suck the smell right into it, and now you just have cold poop smell blowing through it. So then you just have to offset it because it's just a vent and get it so many feet away so it expels away from it and it'll fix it. Right? So these are things you're gonna see. Like you're gonna see everything's not gonna be like, oh yeah, the pipe's leaking. I mean, you're gonna see a lot of that. Oh yeah, the drain line's clogged, right? But then you're gonna have mysteries like we have a leak in our wall. You have like 8 fixtures on this wall and there's tile. And you're like, oh man, yeah, it's gonna suck. Like you're right. Your first instinct is correct, but we're gonna get through. There's some tests to do that. And we've actually based off Bill's 30 years of plumbing. He showed me the device. It's a moisture tester. We have it at shop. You guys can get it. You can rent it out. There's a lot of things that we're constantly improving. Even at our levels with our masters as managers, we learn new stuff every day. Always humble yourself. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'll ask. There's been things I've asked Bill, and he's my employee. Hey man, what do you think? Humble yourself. Learn. But in this situation, you're right. We have 2 things that cause a problem, right? So the way that we're going to get that, and we're not really going to get to the problem because I'm already at 13 minutes right now. But in this situation, you're going to use your camera and locator. So this is the real meat and potatoes of this lesson because this is what I had to deal with, right? If you are with a helper, right? Even when you're a technician, if you're with a helper, it's a little bit easier, okay? So with your camera and locator, your camera has a son. It's got a front son, a middle son, and a back son, okay? So when you're finding it, we can show you guys that have helpers, show them this week. I don't want to pull it all out, right? It's more or less, you can see the front of your head, the middle of your head, the back of your head. You can also find depth on it too, right? You said you worked within, okay, perfect. So on that screen, it's set to 512. That's the hertz that it picks up. So we can agree that it's basically putting out an electronic frequency to find it. It's almost like Find My AirPods. It finds it, okay? Just for a new age term, okay? Same thing like that. So what else do you think puts off electronic frequencies?
Do like the camera itself?
No, I mean, no. Something other than our equipment. In a building, what do you think puts off electronic frequencies?
Microwaves?
I mean, what powers that? A cable?
Sure.
Okay, it plugs into an outlet, and the outlet has conduit, and the conduit has electrical lines, and electrical lines run to the panel, right? Okay, those electrical lines, they carry a frequency. Okay, so I say all that to say this. A lot of times, technicians do it completely wrong because they want to be lazy. And if you guys were part of my internal all hands on deck meeting in there, know this is like this because you just used your equipment to do it. And then you tell the client, I'm going to need 30 racks to fix it. And they just see a tile floor. Okay? No. Okay? Blue painter's tape, 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 blue painter's tape. That way, when you take a backed up picture, now you be like, oh, okay, this is where our line runs. Oh, darn. The line runs over a whole different color tile. They must have done a dig here. Oh, darn. That's where it constantly sucks. Looks like the repair didn't hold, or they did it backwards, or X, Y, Z, right? A lot of these things can happen when you guys follow the process and procedure, okay? So running your camera is very important. Having your equipment work is even more important because you can't help you do your job if you don't have the tools to do it. If you can do everything with a channel lock, do you think I would give you a $15,000, $20,000 worth of tools in your van? No, I'd give you a channel lock. I'd probably give you 3 because they're like $14, but that's not plumbing, okay? Regardless if you use it for regardless if you use it for everything, right? It does double as a hammer. I'll give you guys that.
Channel locks in 7-way screwdriver.
Yeah,
Take care of half my calls.
Hey, hold up now. But there 80% of the time you do need other stuff, right? So if we're locating this line, I'm gonna tell you where a lot of these guys get really south, and you guys can avoid it by not being that guy. If you're by yourself, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna run your camera. This is not what you should do, but this is what you're gonna do because you guys are lazy. Or I won't use that term, but you get what I'm saying. You're just very linear mind. So you're gonna pull the toilet, you're gonna run the toilet, and you're gonna run it all the way. Let's say your blockage is right here. So you run it all the way out, and you're like, okay, this is where the blockage is. I'm gonna turn the locator on. I'm gonna go find it. You already screwed up, right? One, you're probably not that good. Two, you
You
can't.
don't know where it is based off of.
Yeah.
Where you pushed
Yeah,
it
dude,
in.
I watched Andrew walk outside for like a solid fucking 30 minutes. Just
Yeah, it's the wrong way to do it. So
Start it and follow it for the first,
That's-
like
that's
10
what we had
feet
to
till
do.
it stays in a certain direction.
yeah, so he literally wasted an hour before I'm sure he's like, all right, I'm just gonna push it 5 foot and find it. Push it 5
you
foot
have
and
to go
find it.
inside and then you pull it back in and shove it back out. You just
Yeah.
walk out.
And you walk it. So that's the difference. If you have a helper with you, you have them put it in the line, you find it, you're like, all right, move it. And on your screen it moves. You're like, okay, well, electrical lines, it's not gonna move. This is it. Okay, and you're on the phone. All right, push it. All right, push it. All right, push it. And then every 5 foot, right, you're like, hold up, stop, tape. Hold up, stop, tape. If there's a turn, mark a turn. And that way, when you come to roll your tape out, you already have all your dotted lines, and you have it there. You take it. Who cares if they pull it up? You have reference pictures at 0.6 where you can see, you're like, I know it runs here. And we don't have to redo it if we quote for a bigger job, right? So if you have a helper with you, or you are the helper, that's the reason we do it that way, because you know you're on top of it. It makes sense. Okay? The next thing is, if you're by yourself, it sucks because you don't have the other guy. You're like, push it. All right, push it. It's you. You're everywhere. So you're getting your steps
Found it.
today. Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You push it 5 foot, you find it. You push it 5 foot, you find it. You push it 5 foot, you find it. Blue tape, blue tape, blue tape, blue tape. The reason you do that is because you're gonna push it all the way out, and then you're gonna look like an idiot. People are like, what is this guy doing?
You're metal detecting the parking lot.
Yeah, and dude, you're out there like a sniper. Maybe I can figure it out this way. Let me YouTube. All right, I wasted an hour and a half. I'm gonna call my manager. I'm like, bro, pull it. Every time. Put it on black, dude. Take it to the bank. I'm gonna tell you to pull it all the way back in. Find it, push it, find it, push it. It's the only way to do it. The other way doesn't exist. It's not a reality. It's honestly like, I just want to look like an idiot. If you choose to do that, I'd be like, oh, okay, so you just want to be an idiot for an hour. Cool. It's not a real thing, okay? It's not a real thing because some of these electrical lines, you'll think you're on it, right? But you're not there to have someone instantly jiggle it to see if you found it, and then you're gonna pick up other frequencies. That's not the only thing that radiates 512. You're gonna get it off other things. So you can't do it that way. You have to know you're on it. And you can also get your depth too, which is really important. Okay, so the basis of this meeting is kind of be more efficient when you're located. Like, we can get into all this other stuff later, you'll learn it in class, blah, blah, blah. But it's more or less the process to get it. When we're running a camera, blue tape, a locator, you need, and then if it doesn't work, you need to let me know immediately. You need to send me an email so there's proof that you told me, so I don't have to get, that way at least you guys, if I don't do my job, then I don't do my job, and I can deal with the carpet calling from up top. You guys don't need to be the one, okay? Because you know if it's just basic stuff, it's not your fault. You know, if it's just basic wear and tear, it's not your fault. Things do go out, things do break. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you're running your camera, you guys, right? If you're by yourself, what are you gonna do? How far are we gonna push it?
5 feet, blue tape.
Perfect. If you have a helper with you, what are you gonna do?
Have them do all the work.
Essentially.
Sit back and
Who
tap
are
some
you
time.
riding with?
Andrew.
Andrew? Good job. Let me give him my other. So I'll have you ride with Cameron.
Well, I'm actually, this week I have the wedding.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna be here? Perfect. I might have some other stuff for you to do. That works. Okay. At least you didn't have the other guy quit. That's fair. I had the day off today because we're gonna go up next week.
I made it more than a week.
Have fun.
We're breaking our record.